Welcome to this tutorial. This is on patterns of inheritance, and I took the questions from the RPDP tip site because that's where I steal all my questions until I've used up all their questions, and then I have to find some more. That's work. Here we go. Next. Okay. Mendel's second principle states that the inheritance of one characteristic will not infect the characteristics of another characteristic. What is this principle called? So, before we start, switch it over so I can show you the answer. Just start thinking, like, which ones would it be? Okay? So, it's not going to affect. Okay? It's not about mutation because it's normal. It's not fertilization. Well, maybe it's crossing over independent assortment, but when I think it's not going to affect, I think of independence, and that's what's the correct answer. Okay, the principle is called independent assortment. Which statement describes how two organisms may show the same trait yet have different genotypes for this phenotype? One is homozygous dominant and the other is heterozygous. One is homozygous dominant and the other is homozygous recessive. Okay, this one wouldn't work because these would be two different traits. This one's a possibility, because if it's hetero, it's going to show the dominant trait. Both are hetero, well, they have to have different genotypes, so they can't. And both are homo, again, different genotypes. So guess what? By using elimination, we now know the correct answer is A. And it is. There you go. Sexual reproduction contributes to less genetic variation, more identical genotypes. C, greater genetic variation. D, greater mutation. Well, look at all the different people around us. And not very many people even look remotely alike, even if they're related. And how do those people get here? Sex production. So it contributes to greater genetic variation within a population. Okay. Which of the following genotypes has the potential for the greatest genetic variation in the offspring? Homozygous dominant crossed with a homozygous recessive. So let's look at that one. I'm just going to use T's. So homozygous dominant would be two big T's. Homozygous recessive, two little t's. So big T, little t, little t. Big T, little t, little t. Okay? There's no variation here. One type. Okay, heterozygous crossed with a homozygous recessive, so that would be two little t's. And a hetero means it would be a big T and a little t. So big T, little t, little t. I bring the ones down first, on top, down first. That's just how I work it. Okay. Apologize that my pin's not working very well, but my son decided to lose my really good pin, and I've looked everywhere. This one gives you two types. Okay, homozygous dominant crossed with a homozygous dominant. Well, if you start thinking about that, they're both the same, so it's going to give you the same. So there's only going to be one type. A hetero crossed with a hetero, so that means big T, little t, big T, little t, and I'm looking for different genotypes. Big T, little t, big T, big T, where am I? Little t, little t. Notice here, how many different genotypes do I have? I have one genotype here, the second one here, and then this one, these two are the same. So far we have two genotypes. There's our third. So D is the correct answer. It's going to give us the greatest variety. And there you go. And yep, that's the correct answer. So a heterozygous crossed with another heterozygous is going to give us our greatest variety. In pea plants, yellow pea pods are dominant to green pea pods, and round-shaped pea pods are dominant to wrinkled. How do the offspring of two plants that are heterozygous for yellow, round pods result in four different phenotypes? Okay. What do you guys think? Well, if you know about meiosis, it should be, because it's not random, and it's not random fertilization, and it's not a mutation because it's what should be happening. So the correct answer is C. Again, I'm right. Hey, I'm right. Well, it helps I have the answer key. And yellow in bee plants, yellow is a dominant trait and green is a recessive trait. In a genetic cross of two plants that are heterozygous for the pea color trait, what percent of their offspring would have yellow peas? So yellow and they're hetero. So let's do a punnet. So, what letter do I want to use? Let's use Y to represent yellow. So big Y, little y, big Y, little y, because they're hetero. So you have big Y, little y, little y, big Y, little y, little y. Well, because this one has the capital letter, it's going to be yellow. This one's going to be yellow because even though it's a hetero, it's still going to be yellow because it has the dominant trait. And this one's going to be yellow too for the same reason. So last time I checked, 3 out of 4 is 75%. And what's the correct answer, guys? Make sure you know. Make sure you know. What's the correct answer? Okay. Correct answer. Okay. Oops. This one's marked incorrectly. So this is why you should do a Punnett square, because even I as a teacher can make mistakes. So again, let's verify. Double check that it's 75, because it is nowhere should it be 100. Why do I know that? Because so long as there's a big Y in the box, so there's 3 that have big Ys, but look over here, this one's going to have a little y, so there's 1. That's why it's not 100%, it's 75% are going to be yellow. Okay. Use the Punnett square to answer the following question. In humans, having freckles is dominant to no freckles. So, which of the following statements describes the child represented in box 1 of the Punnett square? So what I would do is go ahead and do the Punnett square. So we're going to bring down the F, bring down the F, bring down the baby F, bring down the baby F, 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 F. Okay, there's a big F and there's a little f. That right away means he is hetero because he has 2 different chromosomes. Okay, so any answer that says homo is wrong. Now we have to go back and read. Having freckles is dominant. So if he has a big F, he has freckles. So he's heterozygous for freckles. Again, that's the correct answer, and this time it's marked correct. That's why I should triple check my work, but sometimes I just get in a hurry and I apologize. Okay, in freckles, in humans, having freckles is dominant to no freckles. In a genetic cross of a homozygous dominant parent with a homozygous recessive parent, what percentage of the offspring would have freckles? Let's figure it out. So, anytime, guys, they talk about genetic traits, you should do a Punnett square. You really should, because it's going to guarantee you 100% right. So, big F, big F, big F, big F. I always bring the tops down. It just makes my life easier. Little f, little f, little f. So how many children are going to have freckles? Well, it has a big F, it's going to have freckles. It has a big F, that one's going to have freckles. So far, big F, going to have freckles. Big F, going to have freckles. So what percentage of that is that, guys? That's 100%. And we proved it with the Punnett square, so you should feel really comfortable with your answer. In certain rats, black fur is the dominant trait. Well, white fur is the recessive trait. If 2 heterozygous rats were mated, their offspring are expected to have, well, guys, don't guess. Let's do a Punnett. It told us the answer. I'm going to use big B and little b, and we're crossing 2 heteros, right? 2 heteros, so that means I need a big B and a little b. Okay, this one is going to be big B, big B, big B, little b, big B, little b, 2 little b's. Okay, so right now I know that 3 black mice, 1 white mice. So I have 2 phenotypes, okay? Why do I say there's 2 phenotypes? Because there's only 2 possibilities for what the mice are going to look like, okay? So far, this one says 3 different phenotypes. That's wrong. We just showed you. It's going to be two phenotypes because they're either going to be black or white. Physically, that's what they're going to look like. Okay? Now, so B says 4 different genotypes. So let's look at genotypes. We have big B, big B. We have 1, 2. We have 2 that are the same. And what genotypes are the traits that you can pass what your children will be. Phenotype is the physical, what you see. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. 3 genotypes. So 4 would be wrong. And the correct answer is D. Okay? So again, correct answer is D. And again, all I did to figure this out to make sure I was 100% right is what? A Punnett square. When you're doing genetics traits, if they talk to you about traits, it doesn't hurt you at all to do a Punnett square. It makes sure that you have 100% the correct answer, and I like a correct answer. In humans, polydactylism, having more than 5 fingers on one hand, is a dominant trait. Whoa, that's kind of cool. A man who has 5 fingers on each hand, so he has the recessive trait, and we know that he has a recessive trait because he has it. So he's going to be little f. Okay. Marries a woman who is polydactyl. What does that mean? She has 6 fingers. And it doesn't tell us if she is big F or big F, little f. And we want to know the genotype of the children. Okay. So there's 2 different, you can think about this logically and assume that if her children, only 3 are polydactyl, then she can't be the dominant trait. Because if she was homozygous, dominant, all her children would be polydactyl. Okay? So she cannot be homo. And hemi doesn't exist. Okay? So the only correct answer is she is hetero, and by her being hetero, that allows her to be able to have children that are not polydactyl. Hopefully that explanation makes sense. Okay, so again, correct answer is B, hetero. And again, guys, remember to use Punnett squares. These are your tools here in these kind of inheritance questions. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.